We worked with Creative Business Solutions to do focus groups, and the purpose of the focus groups was really to find out what kind of media we should be placing all of the ads in.
At the beginning of all the focus groups, one of the ways to, quote, loosen up the group was to ask them, tell us about your most favorite commercial or the commercial in the past that you had a connection with. And it was amazing when we got the results back that the great majority of people remembered the commercials that made them laugh.
We saw that television was a good place, but they really, what kind of creatives they wanted was they wanted it to be funny, they wanted it to be memorable. They talked about people like Mayhem, they talked about animals, they talked about kids.
Within the Hispanic group, the main way to get their information was via TV, but it depended on the generations. That was the other aspect of focus groups that really blew me away, is when it came to the older generation within the Hispanic group, none of them use any processed food. The older generation prepared all their meals fresh, from scratch. But if you talk to the younger generation within the group, in fact, what I remember the most was, what is your favorite, favorite food? Someone said number 11, and when they said number 11, that meant number 11 from McDonald's, the value meal. So the convenience of food and what food was used for one generation was very different from the older generation within that particular focus group. The African American population, a lot of people, when it came to learning about food and learning about what's good and not good, was a combination between family as well as literature that they did receive from their doctors. It was a little bit of both. We also, in these focus groups, presented particular pictures, and we wanted their first responses in regards to what they, saw. And of course, when we put fruit in front of them, they would say fresh and sweet. But with some processed foods, they would say, salty with the sodium. The other thing that we mentioned is when you do see a product that says low sodium, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And overwhelmingly, people said bad taste. I also think a major player of all these focus groups at the end of the focus group was to educate them after we had solicited information from them about their habits and what they did in regards to sodium, consumption, is to put processed products in front of them and rank it in order in regards to how much sodium was in each product. And I think, myself included, a lot of the individuals within these focus groups thought that the soup or the canned vegetables or even the rice would have the least amount of sodium, but it had, in essence, the most amount of sodium. With all the 7 focus groups that we conducted, we saw a common denominator in regards to the female within the household being the person or decision maker in regards to menu planning, what was going to be served, etc. So it didn't matter if they were in the capacity of the wife or they were in the capacity of the mother. They were the major decision maker in regards to what was being served. I think an assumption that I had was how people received information, meaning news and education. And I think the onslaught of social media and how people would not even look at a newspaper or a particular news website.
So we went from really going after maybe a newspaper ad to a CJ Online ad, which is our online newspaper, rather than going with the print media.
Overall, the internet, computers, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or certain websites, this was by far the number one way that people receive their information.
The campaign was focused on Spot the Salt, and Gizmo Pictures had completed the entire marketing campaign. They did billboards, print ads, television, and broadcasting that we could utilize in social media, and they also completed a website for us.
So the first thing we did was brand the campaign, and we came up with Spot the Salt. And the reason being is we wanted to help people identify where the sodium was. We weren't necessarily going to tell them that they need to reduce, X amount of grams out of their diet every day. We wanted to educate them about where they could find sodium in their diet and then give them some easy tips about reducing the salt. The campaign had a couple different levels. We had a web element that we knew that we wanted to drive people to because that's where the bigger information was. We had a broadcast element, which was more global. We wanted to get people's attention, do something that was sort of interesting. We had a print campaign, and then we had an outdoor campaign. Now, all of them took a little different level in terms of how much information we gave and how we told people to reduce sodium in their diet.
In the focus groups, we heard things like, we love mayhem, we love kind of that chaos, we love things that make us laugh. So we wanted to do that. We wanted to be something memorable.
We thought we'd just give the whole campaign a face, and it was Salty. He's the guy, he's the spokesman for SALT. We got a guy out of Omaha, and he was spectacular, and we had really great writing. He was we wanted him to be sort of a lovable, funny character, but he knew that too much of him was not going to be good for the diet, and he knew too little was also not going to be good for the diet. So we developed a whole campaign, broadcast campaign, based around him speaking to the consumers about ways they could reduce sodium, about why he was bad, about why he was good.
Everyone absolutely fell in love with Salty, but Salty really took it to a whole nother level. He was pretty engaging and a little bit crazy, a little bit maybe over the top.
We wanted to take this kind of globally and make sure that they understood that there's a couple easy ways that they can reduce sodium in their diet. What we decided to do with the print side of things, which I'm really happy with the way they turned out, we developed 10 easy tips or 10 easy steps to reduce sodium in your diet on a daily basis. Now, we knew that everybody wasn't going to remember all 10 of those. We were hopeful that they remembered 3, maybe 2. But if they did, then that became part of their daily eating habits, and it sort of picked away at having too much sodium in their diet. There were a couple examples was eat fresh, so more fresh fruits and vegetables, watch the condiments where salt can hide. Processed foods is the biggest one, just that they know when they pick up a box or a bag of food, there's probably going to be a lot of sodium in that piece of food. So in the print elements, we really tried to specialize into one of those tips. It was marketed nicely. It was in a number of local magazines. They were graphic, they were colorful. They drove people to the website. The whole objective behind the billboard was to have somebody see it and say, oh, that's a sodium billboard. Oh, I have too much sodium in my diet. What can I do to make myself healthier? So again, they were graphic, they were colorful, they were simple. They didn't have very much information on them, and they included a tip about how people can make themselves healthier with one easy step.
We were hired as the media consultants and did all the media buying for the Sodium Reduction in Communities campaign. So through the focus groups, we were able to not only do the creative side, but we were able to really think about what kind of media buy we wanted. Initially, we had a large portion going to traditional media and not very much going to online media. Instead, we flipped that. We really focused the initial part of our campaign on billboards because we knew we'd get a lot of people to be able to see those billboards. We got high prominent spots in Topeka and Shawnee County. We also bought some prominent spots within the Hispanic community so that we were able to put Spanish billboards up during the time period of our media campaign as well. We went over to Cox Media and we asked them about their online ads that we could buy from them. We went to the radio station. We asked them about their online ads because they had so many people who not only listened to the radio as they were driving, but also listened to the radio in their office place, and they would just turn it on through their computer. We worked with CJ Online to make sure that we had our print ads that looked exactly like our print ads put on as leaderboards and sidebar ads. And at the same time, we decided we'd do pre-roll, which was basically we'd put some video online so that before they maybe get to see a video clip or a news clip, they'd have to see our sodium reduction ads and get to meet Salty. The local portion of the TV buy was on news and then on stations and TV shows that were focused on health. They were focused on improving yourself. They were hitting on more of a women's focus. Then we hit cable. We got March Madness. We got Monday Night Football. We went after ESPN, And then we also went after those shows that you just can't turn off, all those reality shows, cooking shows, and basically across the board we were buying every cable station as much as we could, and we were able to get really great pricing in doing that. Some of our ads were as inexpensive as $1 per ad.
If we had to do it all over again, I think there's a comfort level in having people from the same racial status and or socioeconomic status to be in the same room. And the reason I say that is when we did these focus groups, we wanted to have diversity within the room, which I understand because we wanted to hear from all the different groups, demographic groups that we wanted to see. People weren't really comfortable in speaking about their true feelings because they were different than everybody else. But when we did the Hispanic group, everyone within that room was from the Hispanic culture. So it was very laid back, it was very open, and we learned a lot in regards to their eating habits or their lifestyle choices in regards to sodium consumption.
So one of the lessons learned as we created this campaign was the creative. We really wanted to take it to the next level. We wanted to make it impactful.
We were really hopeful that we could have even done more with Salty and sort of have people recognize him even more in sort of a web viral way. Some of the people, the health department people and some of the other people certainly had some reservations about going this route with sodium and with Salty, but we sort of stuck by it, and Tara was really good about forcing through a lot of the things that we wanted to do.
In a campaign where you're spending public dollars, that was tough to do. So we really had to pull him back, and then once we kind of all approved that, he kind of got pulled back again. And so that edge that he was pushing and that really creative side where we were getting the funny and we were getting the oh my gosh, this is gonna go viral, a little bit of that got taken away over the process.
We took him to the next level of sort of being a real person. And the message was subtle in them, of course, but they were funny and memorable.
But Salty still worked. As we were doing intercept surveys, because we chose to really evaluate our media campaign and whether it was successful, TV repeatedly was the top thing that people saw. People could identify with Salty. They could say, I know that guy, I saw him. Oh, he's so funny. Or they would say, he reminds me of Mayhem, which is exactly what we were going for. So even though we saw it get pulled back, the public didn't see that pullback happen, and they still found him very charismatic and engaging and all the things that we wanted them to find him.
As a whole, I think we're really happy with how the campaign came out. I think that if we had another 2 years, we could put a lot more sodium and a lot more Salty in, and I think people would understand a little more specifically about ways that they could reduce sodium in their diets on a daily basis.